Welcome back to our second episode of the crossover with Joe Arlauckas in our fifth season. And this year, what else would you expect but another incredible guest? Today, we're heading to Belgrade, Serbia, via USA, well, more importantly, down under. That's right, people. All the way from Melbourne, Australia, one of the most versatile and explosive players I've ever seen come through the EuroLeague. And I even got to commentate on his first European game. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dante Exum. Dante, how you doing, my man? Welcome to the crossover.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, I'm doing a little bit better than you this morning, I guess, but we won't get into that. Hey, look, I was up in Barcelona last year, and I was called up there to go commentate the game. I was doing color for the El Clasico game, and all of a sudden, I get there and I'm trying to go through my notes and everything else, and I see this new name pop up. I know, like Dante Exum. And I'm like, Australia? I start doing a little bit of research on you. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, this guy, I mean, this is a Clasico. He just got off the plane. I think you literally got off the plane like a day or two beforehand, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I told my commentator, Andy West, I'm like, hey, I said, let's not expect much out of his Exum character tonight, because I said, he just showed up from Australia. This is a Clasico. He's probably never seen anything like this before. And dude, you got 13 minutes in that game.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. I didn't expect much from myself that game either. As you said, like, I was straight off the plane. I was thrown into practice after practice, and it was a whirlwind. I'll tell you that. I came straight over, and that was the plan. I think I left maybe Tuesday, and the plan was to play the Clasico on Friday, and it was a whirlwind. As soon as I landed, I was in MRIs, medical, straight to practice, like everything you could think of. And then on top of that, I wasn't sleeping because of the time difference.
Right.
And it was tough. I was holed up in my hotel room, just blackout curtains, and just trying to get as much sleep during the day.
You came from the States, right? Was that from the States, or did you come from Australia? And I mean, what? I mean, you go over and they tell you did they tell you it's going to be Madrid, Barcelona? They tell you it's Clasico, or just tell you that, we got a game on Thursday or on Friday, I think the game was?
No, they, I mean, you know how it is over here in Europe in the rivalries. So that was the plan. That was the plan to put me in. And, I was ready for it. I wanted to. I said to my agent, I was like, let's try and do it before, for the Real Madrid game. I think that would be a good introduction into Europe and kind of what it's about. And I tell you, it was more than I expected. It was crazy. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what everybody says, man. It's just a different atmosphere between, all the, like you said, the rivalries. Right now, you guys Partizan and Cervena Vesda, you got Barcelona, Madrid, Panathinaikos. It's crazy. It's just a different feel from America. But let's get back to where we started now, from your early life. All right, your early life. You're only 27. You've been around for quite a while, because you started out so young. But your dad played basketball too in North Carolina with Michael Jordan, from what I understand.
Correct. Yeah, he had a good career. He obviously played at the University of North Carolina before getting drafted, but getting injured also. I think he then went over to Sweden for a year, which I actually talked to one of my teammates who was from Sweden, and he said he was somewhere up north where it was freezing cold, and he doesn't know how he survived there. And then had an opportunity to go to Australia. Didn't know anything about Australia, and went with my mom. And ever since then, they loved it, stayed, and had me, my brother, and my sister, and that's how I grew up in Australia.
But both your parents are actually American, though, right?
Yes. Both of them are from North Carolina.
From North Carolina. The weather's not that bad in North Carolina, but I mean, going up to the south of Sweden in the cold weather, I mean, that's always a big change.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, they definitely said some stories about that where you just couldn't leave your room, and it was a small town, and I don't even remember the name, but they were like, it was freezing, and they were like, they couldn't do that. So when they heard about Australia and the warm weather down there, so.
And then once you get down to Australia, you find that weather. That's where you find the home.
Exactly.
Your sister, she's a twin sister, right?
Correct. Yep.
And what's that like? 'Cause I read somewhere where she said something. She calls you her womb mate. And
Yeah, it was good. It was obviously growing up, I had a older brother and a twin sister, so I was kind of that middle child that was really good friends with both of them. But with my sister, she actually did gymnastics growing up, so we were quite, we weren't competitive in that aspect, but we always had the dream of representing Australia first, and it was kind of a little competition between us. And I actually got to represent Australia first, and but no, it's just a friendly competition between us.
well, I hope it's a friendly competition, brother and sister. But I like the fact that you called yourself the middle child. I mean, really, you're not the middle child. What, there was like 14 minutes between the two of you?
Yeah, it was something like that. I think it was like 16 or something. But yeah,
16
no,
minutes.
she's definitely my younger sister. She's my younger sister, and I let her know. So
You, you let her know that. I love it. So your dad played with the Nuggets, and then from there he went overseas. But then he went to play in Australia. That's how he got to Australia, right? To also play.
yeah, yeah.
You get you read about these parents all the time that are a little bit over, like they want their kids to be like a professional athlete, and they push them, they push them, they push them. But it seems like he was between a mentor and kind of like a guide for you more than he was someone that was pushing you athletically. Is that the way it was?
Yeah, no, I think that's perfect. Just, I think growing up, my dad, he always wanted me to do what, I mean, both my parents wanted me to do what I wanted to do. I think I was the child. I mean, my brother, he always loved basketball, always wanted to do basketball, but I was trying to do every sport possible. I went through a golf stage. I went through trying to do skateboarding. And then I think the real one was like even Australian football. I wanted to play. I played at school, and then I wanted to play like in a local like footy club. And I asked my dad, and he was like, "Hey, like you can like just do you want that or basketball? Like I can't be running around doing basketball, and I can't trying to take you to footy training as well." So there was a couple times where definitely with that and track and field as well. I wanted to do track and field, and he made me make decisions. And I always fell back into basketball. I always loved it. I always knew it was what I wanted to do. But obviously growing up, I loved those other sports and wanted to try them. But I think once it came to it and having to make that decision, it was always basketball for me.
Talk to me about Australian rules football. How long did you play? And I mean I'm a big NFL fan, so I mean I love what we call the real football. Forget the soccer, forget the World Cup, forget Australian rules, forget rugby. We call it the real football, but Australian rules football is pretty badass, man. I love watching it.
Yeah, no, it's a great sport. I think. I mean, I played all growing up, and in school, and I loved it. I couldn't kick the ball, really straight, but I could kick it far and run and tackle. So I think that was kind of what made me love the sport. And I think it was just with all your friends, and there was those gritty games where you were out in the mud and throwing people in mud. It was just a fun sport, and a different kind of side of basketball where you're always kind of indoors, and I loved it for that aspect.
Is that where, I mean, when I watch you play, you have a physical aspect about you, a physicality, other than the fact that you're an extremely finesse player, but you're almost like a Dwayne Wade in a way that's not afraid of contact, that's falling on the floor all the time, that's throwing your body around. Does that come from Australian rules football? Is that kind of like where your pedigree came from, your attitude on the basketball court?
I wouldn't say so. I think the falling, I think I've just kind of got into a state where I've learned how to fall. I always tell people that, and they don't quite understand it, but in my mind, it's perfect. Of kind of, I think instead of landing, there's so many feet, I can land on someone's foot and just roll my ankle, anything like that. And I've kind of learned how to, kind of fall and, protect my body that way. I've got a lot of bruises on my elbows and stuff, but over the years, they've kind of hardened up. So, but yeah, no, I think that's just kind of how I've just developed my game and learning just to kind of avoid those type of injuries and kind of sacrifice my body a little bit, but doing it in a kind of a safer way.
You might be the first person I've ever talked to that's actually said to me that they've taught themselves how to fall. Wait till you're my age. You do everything you can to stay off the ground, man, 'cause it takes too long to get back up again.
I went through probably 2 or 3 years of, doing individuals where it was like, all right, we're doing layups and we're not falling, or we're doing layups and we're not going out of bounds. So I think there's an aspect where I can do that, but I think when I'm going so fast and just getting to the basket, it's just sometimes you need to fall or get out of bounds. So
talk to me about the Australian Institute of Sport, which is from now on we'll call it AIS for anybody who doesn't know. But explain to me a little bit about this facility. It sounds amazing to me.
Yeah, so I think I was 15 when I got offered a scholarship, and that was kind of the time in my life where it was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I want to do. And because, before that it was just, playing my local comp, and we called it like rep basketball on Friday nights where you play for a club. And that was kind of the extent of my basketball. And when I moved to Canberra for the AIS, it was kind of like, okay, this is going to be an everyday thing. We were doing weights in the morning, shooting after weights, then going to school, and then practice after. So it was kind of I had to really say to myself, this is what I want to do. So it was 15, kind of young to go there, but I think I was ready, mentally as well. But I loved the experience. I think it was one of the best things for me. It's where I was able to, kind of take my game to the next step. The only problem, I feel like we didn't play games. We kind of we would travel and play in like tournaments and stuff. But yeah, it was just a great place where I was able to shoot when I want to. We were on a campus, so I could walk over to the gym and shoot whenever. And getting professional like weightlifting. It was the first time I really lifted weights as well.
The scholarship was a basketball scholarship, I'm assuming, right? Just strictly basketball, because the facility actually has like 25, 26 different sports that they work with. So you were there strictly for basketball, 100%.
Yeah. So the way it works is kind of like Australia's, they call it the Center of Excellence now for basketball, but it's like the Olympic Training Center.
Right.
So depending on the different types of sports, like basketball is always focused on the juniors, so they bring in juniors. Swimming has kind of those next up-and-coming Olympians. But the whole program of the AIS is to develop the next Olympians to represent Australia. When you kind of get that honor of going there, that's, you have to take it seriously, and that's the next step. And the whole point is to win medals for Australia.
There's a couple things that really interested me about the mentality of the people that were in IIS, and that's just because I've researched it and read about it because of this interview. But it's almost like, did you have that NBA dream at this time, or were you just going there because you wanted to win medals for Australia? You understand what I'm saying? Like, most of us are young kids. It's like,
yeah,
I want to play in the NBA, but it seems like there was more of a mentality towards representing your country.
Yeah, no, I think it goes hand in hand. I think as a competitor, you want to compete at the highest level. So the NBA was, obviously the goal. But the mindset of going there is to represent my country, and that was something I've always done and want to continue to do. So, but yeah.
What was the moment there during that time? How much time did you spend there?
I was there about 3.5 years.
3.5 years. So it's almost like going to a university, because you guys are schooled also, and it's essentially getting a scholarship to a university in the States. Yeah.
It was, so the way it worked, we kind of really focused on basketball, but we did go to normal like high school. Right. It was kind of weird too, because we were just in classes, so It was not like a normal kind of high school. So if class started at 12 for me, I had to go to school just at 12. So we kind of worked our schedules and picked classes around where we could, shoot and practice in the morning and then go to school, get that out of the way, and then go back and practice again.
I love the way you say. I love the way you say, get that school part out of the way.
Oh no, I was a great student. You can ask anyone.
No, I read that you're a great student, but it doesn't matter if you're a good student or a bad student. You just want to get that school part out of the way and start hooping again. And when was the moment there? Because from everything I've read, when was the moment that you were like, damn, I think I could do this. I think I'm going to be able to make it. Was it people talking? I know you went to the Nike Hoop Summit and you played against the U.S. team. But what was that moment where you're like, all right, this is going to be a career for me?
I think, kind of growing up, I was always in like state teams. We always, you have New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland. So we always played these state program competitions, and I was kind of always excelling at that. So I knew, and then obviously getting to go to the AIS early, I was kind of on that path to be, good or make this kind of what I wanted to do. But it wasn't until I think when I went to under 17s World Championship in Lithuania, where I kind of did it on a world stage, and I was, All-Star 5 and going against, the best kids in the world, and able to, do that. We finished second behind the US. So I think kind of when I was there, and it was like, all right, like, yeah, this is kind of, I'm going against the best kids. I can compete. I'm still doing good. I think that was the time where it kind of clicked, like, okay, this is what I can do. And then to follow up with it, it was under 19s when I was bottom age. So it was kids a year older than me. And I did the same thing. And I was, still All-Star 5, and, we finished fourth. We should have finished third. We should have been in the gold medal game. But so I think that was kind of when it clicked for me. And my dream was actually, honestly, to always go to college. I really wanted to go to college. I was one of the guys I was watching every highlight video of everyone in my class. Looking at they had the ESPN rankings, which I was like never on because I was a kid from Australia no one ever heard of. So right. It wasn't like today where you get a lot of exposure being in Australia. I even see now, like, going on Instagram, there's more pages of kids in Australia, their highlights and getting that exposure, but there wasn't a lot of that. So I had to kind of do that, going to these tournaments and going overseas to get that. But yeah, I wanted to go to college, and it wasn't until the under 19s Worlds where I did well, and then they had me on a draft board, and I said to everyone, was like, oh, like, everyone's like, yeah, like, you're on a draft board, like, you going to the draft. I'm like, I can't go on the draft. Like, I got to go to college. I got to do one and done. Like, that was the goal. Like, I had that mentality, but, then agents started reaching out, and it was just like, no, like, you're international. You just have to be 19 in the draft year. So that kind of changed the perspective of everything, and, sped up this timeline of what, I wanted to do. And then when that came around, it was just like, well, you know what? College was always just a stepping stone to get to the real goal of the NBA. Because I mean, obviously my dad went to UNC, so I watched them growing up, and they were always successful, and it was always a dream to go there, or at least go to a college, and just kind of get that experience. But when the NBA comes knocking, you're just like, yep, let me go.
I always wondered about that, if you wanted to do the college thing, because I know you had a bunch of offers and the one and done. I'm glad you answered that question for me. Yeah. But how did you get? Was it your dad and connections that he had through the basketball world in the States that kind of got your name out? Because when I was reading an article about you, some reporters in the Bleacher Report came out to visit you for a few days or I don't know, weekend. And their biggest thing in their article that I read was nobody knew who the hell you were in Australia. You were just
Yeah.
kind of like you were a nobody. You weren't a nobody. You were somebody that was coming up the ranks, but you weren't as well known in Australia as you were in the American market. Let's say.
Yeah. Yeah,
It,
yeah, and it was obviously hard. Like as I said, I was watching those draft boards and watching some of the guys that played on the USA team, and I felt like I was doing really well against them, and and seeing them like up top 10, and my name not even on there. It's hard. But yeah, I had Bleacher Report come out and follow me around for a week during my school's national tournament, which was cool. Got me a lot of exposure. But yeah, no, it was definitely hard to kind of get that. My dad was sending tapes over, and kind of the only real offers and stuff I was getting was from any university that had college connections to Australia, because obviously Australians knew about me, so they were trying to get me over. So, obviously St. Mary's at the time, Boise State had a real deep connection with Australia. So, those were the schools that were really high on my radar.
so did you? There's always a question I love to ask people, especially in this. It even it works out better in your situation because you had no college experience, because you had no USA experience, so to speak. Did you just look at this? Everybody telling you that the next step in the NBA, like in the back of your head somewhere. I mean, we're athletes. Well, I mean, I'm an ex-athlete, but we still have that athlete mentality, and we think we could do anything. But sometimes, like, somewhere in the back of your head creeps in that doubt, man, where you start to like, man, this might be moving too quick for me. Was there that moment where you're just like, man, I'm not sure if I'm ready?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I think the last game before that I played before I went into the draft and played NBA was a high school game in Australia.
Exactly.
So I was playing the point guard, but I was taller than our five man. So like it was just a different time. And I always remember the first time I went into once I got drafted and I went into Utah. Like I went into the office with Dennis Lindsay, who was the GM at Utah at the time, and he said, I was watching your game tape of your school's national tournament, and I said at first, oh, don't watch that, like, because it was just the level of competition was just very, very different, and but that's all they had to go off. That's all they had to go off. So,
Well, what did it feel like being fifth in the draft, fifth overall pick by Utah? I mean, were you pretty much aware that was gonna be the deal before they called your name, or were you just like shocked?
yeah, no, so I knew they were. It's kind of a weird thing because when I was going through the draft process, I worked out for, I think it was like 2 through 4, and then 6 through, I think, 9. So I worked out with pretty much everyone except for Utah. And the reason for that was because the previous year before that, they drafted a point guard, Trey Burke. So I was kind of like, me and my agent talked about it. I was like, yeah, like Utah, they're not going to want to do it or whatever. And it wasn't actually until draft night, I was on the bus heading over to the Barclays Center, and I get a phone call from my agent, and he's just like, hey, like, I think Utah could be a good spot. And I'm like, are they picking me? Because he was trying to sell me on the idea
Right.
of Utah and everything, but it was something we never talked about. So I kind of knew at that point that was going to happen, and then obviously I got there and I talked to my agent. He's like, yeah, they're gonna pick you, and so it was kind of a weird moment. I was sitting there, you hear the first, you hear the second, you hear the third, and then the fourth, and then it's like, all right, this one's coming up, and then I think they took a break, and I was like, oh no, like, just kind of preparing for that moment. What am I gonna do? All right, who do hands do I shake first? Like, what do I do? All right, when I get on stage, like, don't trip. Like, what kind of handshake am I gonna do with Adam Silver? Like, everything was going through my head, and so I was just trying to try and play it cool, but obviously it was just an exciting time, and then after that, just the whirlwind of everything started.
And no disrespect to Utah at all, because I mean, I think it's a beautiful city and obviously one of the best franchises organizations in the NBA. But But when you get, I don't know who the teams were before or after Utah, but when you got cities like L.A., Miami,
Yeah. It was.
New York, and
I
you're
can tell you
thinking
right
like,
before. Fourth was Orlando. Sixth was Boston, and then seventh was Lakers. So I can tell you that. But yeah, no, it was weird, and obviously it was a shock because I didn't know anything about Utah. It was just something we never looked at.
Right.
But obviously I get there, and you just learn more and more about the city and kind of what they're about, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
How's that first winter though?
You know what? It wasn't bad. I think Utah winters get a kind of a bad rap, but
It's a lot of snow.
Yeah, but they clean it up really well, and I feel like the sun comes out. But I went to Cleveland, and no, I would have a Utah winter any time of the year compared to a Cleveland winter.
Hey, look, I'm from upstate New York, which is in Cleveland. You're on Lake Erie. In upstate New York, I was on Lake Ontario, and I know exactly. It's the windy cities, Windy City, Chicago. But man, there's wind coming off of that water, and you get like 10-foot snow piles blowing around.
In Cleveland, I stayed right next to the Brown Stadium on the lake, and that wind hits you, and it's just a different type of cold. And there was like 2 or 3 snowstorms while I was there, and it was like days where we're like, maybe we can't get to practice. Like it was that type.
Yeah, we used to call it when I was up in Niagara University in the fall. We used to call it the hawk. It was so cold. It was like it was like a hawk just like biting down on you, and and it's that cold you can't get rid of all day long. Even if you're inside in the warm weather, it's still like in you.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I never felt that in Utah. I never felt that.
Utah's a lot calmer, and it is a different type of winter. It's kind of like Colorado. It's a lot of snow, but it's not. You don't have that lake breeze effect coming off at you. And Cleveland and Chicago are tough places to be in as far as cold's concerned.
Yeah.
But let's kind of run through your NBA career real quick. I mean, you've played in about 250 games, but man, and this is something I always talk to people about because it happened to me. It didn't happen to me injury-wise, but it happened to me that I was just, my dream at one point was get to the NBA. I got to the NBA, then I got released right before that cutoff date, and then they told me to hang around, and you learn kind of a business that it is, and in your case, you've been just beat up with injuries throughout the 4 or 5 years you were there. You have that dream when you're at IIS to go to NBA, whatever, and you never really, that's never really part of your dream. You know what I mean? The bad parts of it. Tell me what it's like for a kid you went relatively young, obviously, to the NBA to go through these injuries. First, I think it was your knee, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, ACL.
And you were playing. I mean, you played 82 games. You started like 41 of them that first season, and to go down with that, what goes through your mind? Because we're strong. We're strong as athletes. We have a lot of confidence. We have a lot of overconfidence, but we're also weak at times when bad things happen because we're not used to having bad things happen. What's going through your head at this time, your first injury?
Yeah, it's that was definitely a tough time. I think kind of how, as you said, like my first year I played all 82, and I think for me, that first year was obviously, my last games were playing high school basketball, and so it was finding my feeding, kind of seeing where I fit in kind of like a system and the NBA and how the game's played. So just trying to kind of, find my feet through that. And then I felt like I had a really good summer. And then I went over and I played national team, and it was the last game before we were heading home, and we were in Slovenia. And unfortunately did a normal move, a normal stop that I've done 1,000 times in my life before. And just that time my, knee decided to give out. And so I'm stuck over in Slovenia, with a torn ACL, and, just the emotions of everything going through my head of kind of how to, what's this look like? How's this going to be? Like, how long am I out? Like, everything's just running through my head. And I flew straight back to Salt Lake. And then it was just kind of, I think I had to train myself to snap out of that kind of feeling sorry for myself. I think that was the most important thing. Because, you obviously, you want to do great. You want to be on the court. That's the goal. And I felt like I had a really good summer where I was going to have a good season. And then to know that, and then talking to the doctors and everything, it's like, yeah, you're going to be out for the whole season. That's tough. So for me, it was just, okay, now I had to go full head steam and, kind of the rehab. And that's what I did. And then obviously there was days where I didn't want to do it, where, I wanted to, just go into a cocoon, a bubble, and just, stay in bed for a week and just be like, I can't deal with this. But it was always that kind of, that drive that, okay, next year, this is, is going to be better. I'm going to be playing. And so that was what kind of drove me. And then the hardest thing that people don't actually realize is that you're around it the whole time. So I didn't leave Salt Lake. I was in Salt Lake. So I was at every home game. I was at every practice, and then doing my rehab after. So my days were twice as long as, everyone else, because the coach still wanted me to, kind of be involved and, in film sessions learning. So that was the hardest thing, because there was games and days where I just didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be around. Looking back at it now, I wish I would have said, hey, I need a mental day. Like, let me just go do my rehab, but I don't want to come in and do watch practice or anything. Because I feel like that's important.
You're 19 or 20, right, at this time?
Yeah, 20, yeah.
And nobody was there with you. You were in Utah alone?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, nobody realizes how hard that is, man. It's the physical aspect's kind of easy for an athlete because you know what you have to do. You have people telling you what you have to do to get back, but nobody can actually get into your mind and help you, like you said, and say, hey, look at, just give me a week off. I'll be at rehab every day, but I just don't want to be around a team. I just feel like I need to kind of disconnect myself from it. But nobody, it's so hard for a 19-year-old to come up or a 20-year-old come up and tell the Utah Jazz that you just want to disconnect from the team for a little bit because you're playing with fire.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I was able to get through it, but I mean, the medical staff, were great with me. They understood definitely that there was some days definitely I would walk into the weight room and he could just see it in my face that I didn't have it, or today just wasn't the day. It wasn't my day. So, we kind of navigated through it like that. But yeah, you could definitely tell. And I always say it, and I use my experience to help, people on my team now, that are going through things, to, just talk to them. And, it's, hey, just knock it out for an hour. Do it hard for an hour, and then you're done for the rest of the day, type stuff. So.
And then once you get yourself back from the knee injury, the shoulder happens.
Yeah. So I think the way it kind of played out was
I'm not laughing.
Yeah, no.
It's just, it's crazy. It's
that one was, I think, the hardest one for me to understand, because I think I went into the next season. We had a better team, so I was kind of in and out of the rotation, but I was still trying to find myself. I was still trying to learn how to trust my knee and trust, because, as, I say, I go fast and I fall and I do all this, but there's this kind of mental roadblock that you have to get over, going through an injury like that, not using your knee for 6 months. I found it hard. And then I was battling a lot of tendonitis in the knee. So I think that year happened. And then I had a really good summer league, and I was like, yes, okay, this is the year. I'm a year out from ACL injury and I'm ready. And it was a preseason game, and I went up for a layup and someone jumped on my back, and I did everything I can to protect myself. But I fell kind of with my hands trying to protect myself, and my shoulder popped out. Like, not popped out, it separated. Right. And I can remember, and like it makes me, I get choked up, like even thinking about it. And you could just see, I remember the faces of everybody in like our in the back, like, because the game was still going on. Like, I had the GM, all the medical guys in there, and you could see, because they seen how hard I'd worked, and it was just something so silly and stupid in a preseason game that I separated my shoulder, and I was like, I at first I thought it was I dislocated my shoulder, so I was like, okay, you know what? They just pop it back into place,
right.
I might not have to get surgery. I could just, rehab it for a little bit, and then, it might be something that, keeps popping out, but I can kind of deal with it. That was my first initial thought. So I kind of was like, hype myself up, like, so I wasn't like in that kind of emotional state yet. I was kind of like mad, but I was kind of like, all right, we can deal with this. So I said I remember I go to the trainer, I was like, all right, let's pop it back in. Like, I'm ready. Like, give me a towel, whatever, I'll bite it. Like, let's pop this back out. And he said, no, like, that's separated. You're going to have to, it's not, it can't be popped back in place. And then that's when I just lost it. I was like, I remember I threw my phone. At that point, I was done. Because I didn't know the timeline, I didn't know anything. And then it was kind of, after that, it was like, all right, now we're on this rat race trying to figure out what's the best. Because with these injuries, you can not have surgery, or you can have surgery. I think Chris Paul has a separated shoulder, but he doesn't have surgery. But mine was so high that we didn't know. I could do 2 months of rehab and it doesn't feel right, and then I have to get surgery. So we elected to just get surgery, because it's tough. Like, I was like, I literally, I said to them, I was like, I don't know how I would be if I would do 2 months of rehab, only to be like, this doesn't feel right, or it's not right, and have to then get surgery, and then it starts again. And then something that was, 6 months turns into 8-9 months. So that was I think, honestly, the toughest one for me, because it was a stupid play, and it was just something, even the doctors were saying, yeah, this doesn't happen in basketball. It's just not a basketball injury.
Yeah, it is a strange injury for basketball. Usually with, you talk about legs or knees, or but that's a strange injury. But then you come back again, and then you get the ankle. And you tear your patella tendon in your right knee. Was that part of the tendonitis thing that was just an ongoing kind of chronic thing?
It was hard. Yeah, I came back, and I was playing really well at this point, and then I stepped on someone's foot, and my ankle. So this kind of leads into how I did the patella, but the ankle, I just couldn't get it right. And it's always hard, because now I'm starting to build this always injured. So for me, it was like I was doing everything I could to get back, but my ankle just didn't feel right, and I had bone bruising. That was the problem. So running on my ankle and doing that was just, it wasn't feeling right. And it was, I think, 2 months I was out for that. And every week in the NBA, they just do reevaluate in 2 weeks. So every time it was like, reevaluate, he's going to be out another 2 weeks. And, I was like, everyone's just thinking this is an ankle sprain. So I'm like, all right, we need to get this back. And the biggest thing for me is I really wanted to get back in the rotation, because playoffs were coming soon. So I was like, all right, it was like a month towards playoffs, and I was feeling decent. I wasn't 100%, but I was feeling good. And I went out the first game and went to stop, and my patella tendon just tore. And that I think that was the first time I realized, you know what, okay, I can't rush injuries, because I think I was favoring the other leg, and it put too much pressure on that leg, and then just decided to go at that point. So yeah.
The biggest problem, again, I go back to the mental aspect, but it goes back to you have to be thinking that, shit, all of a sudden now I'm getting a reputation as being injury prone. And people are going to, they look at me in a different light now. And I mean, was there a moment where you were like, man, the hell with this? It's not worth it. I'm going at this nonstop. I want it so bad, but I keep getting hurt. But was there that moment of giving up, maybe, or thinking about?
No, I wouldn't say for me, like, this was always something I wanted and something, I was always going to work at. So I never was at the point where, I wanted to give up or I was like, this isn't worth it. Obviously it was hard and everything, but it was always about getting back on the court. It was always about, playing that next game and thinking about that. And that's what I think kept motivating me to, keep going to rehab, keep going in every day, keep trying to learn and do all that so I can just get on that court and just, play again. One of the quotes that everyone always says is, treat every game like your last game. And,
Right.
It's something everyone kind of, it's like, oh, like, yeah, but for me, it's like at that point, it was a real thing. It was like, you know what? I never know when it's going to be taken away from me. And I think you kind of always take things for granted when, you're just playing and going through it, or, we're playing, 4 games in 7 nights, and that 4th game, you're just like, man, like, I just don't want to play tonight. And it's always, for me, it's like snap back. All right, cool. You know what? Remember when I was out for, a year with my ACL? Like, all right, we can get through this. So I think that's always kind of helped me kind of go forward with it.
But I mean, you also have to start thinking about, man, 4 games in 7 nights, man. My body's not where I need it to be because I haven't had time to do my personal stuff, and so that's got to get going through your mind too. I mean, if you haven't been injured before, that doesn't go through your mind. But if you're going through what you've been through, that's got to be like, man, I'm tired. I don't know if I should be playing here tonight.
Yeah. I always tried to stay out of that mindset, and it's always the superstitious stuff like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, shouldn't have done that, or I'm not supposed to drive, so if I did that, I wouldn't have got injured. But I learned kind of never to be like that and just kind of always just go out and play, but take care of the stuff so I know that when I do go out and play, that I've done everything before to prepare that I'm in the right state, to play. So whether that's doing my, kind of, we call it corrective stuff for my knees, ankles, anything, just to make sure I'm ready.
That's the funny part is you try not to think about it. That's like trying not to think that you're going to be up all night while you're trying to fall asleep. It's like you're still thinking about it regardless. Yeah. You can mentally tell yourself not to think about it, but it's always there. Let's get on to some happier times. You played. I had a short NBA career, man. You played 250 games. That's about 241 more than I played, I think. But you had a nice little stint there, and then you came to Europe on a 3-month contract to Barcelona. We already talked about your first game being against Real Madrid. It was some advice from Joe Ingles and Ingles and Nathan Jawai, right? That kind of like pushed you over to say, this is what I want to do now. And I got to think mentally, you're thinking like, I need to go somewhere again and show that I could play this game without being hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the decision of kind of coming over to Europe, I think that first jump over is the hardest because you always want to be in the NBA and you want that dream because that's always been my dream. But with all the injuries and everything, I think the most important thing for me was playing. Showing the health and showing that I can, stay healthy and be on the floor. So I think, coming over to Europe, gave me that opportunity. And, it was less games a week. And even though I think with everything that happened with COVID, we actually had our month of March was worse than an NBA schedule with the travel and everything. So, but, I get through that fine. And, but yeah, I think, coming over here was just, prove I can stay healthy. I can still compete. I've still got that competitive factor about me.
How difficult is it? Because this is actually kind of the first time you've done this. How difficult is it to walk into a team like Barcelona? I think if I remember right, it was December 20th or December whatever that you showed up and played that first game in our Clasico that we talked about earlier. How difficult is it for a guy like you, because you're a pretty humble kid. You seem to be more of a team player than you are egotistical. I don't know. You're just a good kid. That's the bottom line, and that's what everybody said. Everything I've read about. How hard is it for a good kid to come and jump into a team like Barcelona, who's at that point they're in first place already? They have a team that's pretty well set. Where did you find your comfort zone, or how long did it take you?
Yeah, it was very difficult. Yeah, coming in, you come over and you obviously have all these aspirations that you're going to come over and dominate and do well, but you're coming into a team that's established. They're first in ACB, first in EuroLeague, so obviously something's working in the team. And, for me, I was trying to come in and, obviously play well and, play a part in the team, but, I wasn't trying to disrupt that winning and what they were doing. And, luckily I felt like I was able to do that. I bought into kind of, what they were doing there, and just kind of took my opportunities as they came. It was hard. Yeah. Cause you want to go over there, you want to score, you want to have the ball, you want to assist, but, it was definitely tough. And at that point, I was kind of like, I've always played the one, and in that team, I started in the two, but then we had, Abrinius and Kuric, and then it was like, all right, no, let's slot you into the three. So now I'm playing the three and guarding threes and, just trying to kind of navigate that. But I felt like I think it took a bit of time to kind of feel where I fit in. But once I kind of got it and understood how I can help, I felt like I did well.
You were pretty much set from what I read. It was 3 months and back to the NBA. That was your goal. What happened?
I think for me, it was when I was there and I looked back. I looked at kind of weighed the options of, okay, if I do go back over, what you said, it's like a 10-day contract, or, even then, I actually, as soon as I first got over there, I think it was the time where COVID just hit the NBA like crazy. And so everyone was getting a 10-day contract. And I'm like thinking like, man, like if I had just waited a week or 2 weeks, I could have, had that and had an opportunity. But then I looked at it like, you know what? I would have gone to a team, I would have played a couple games, and then it would have been 10-day over. And then I might have gone to another team. And, with all the, the injuries and everything that was happening, I wanted that kind of stability of, playing on a team and, showing I could play a season and stay healthy. So I think kind of as we got to that kind of end date in February, I was like, you know what, like, I want to finish this out. I want to continue and just play the rest of the season out here.
You play for Barcelona. You guys won the Kings Cup, the Copa del Rey, and you had just started almost at that point. You had only been with the team for a month and a half or 2 months, I guess. Usually that's in mid-February, and you lost in the finals to a Madrid team without their head coach on top of it. Which one do you remember most? Which one's still in your mind right now?
Oh, it's definitely the Madrid game. I think we had it. We were up, at halftime by plus 10, and it was just one of those things. You always remember the losses over the wins, I think, and EuroLeague was what we wanted, and I remember even going into the Bayern series. We went to Game 5, and everything we were talking about was, hey, this is our season right here. This is our season. So everything was kind of about EuroLeague and winning that game. It's like, all right, like it's 2 more games,
Right.
and we're champions of Europe. Like that was it. 2 more games, and they were obviously there last year, and missed it by like a little bit. So they had a taste and they had that feeling of where they wanted to go. So even just talking to the guys and how much it meant for them to get back there and to win it all this year. I wanted it too, and I think that one just hurt the most.
You guys had won like 9 of the last 10 games against Real Madrid, and it was pretty much. I don't know if you guys bought into that, and there's that little bit of relax, but it's in your mind you're like that. You're confident because you've won 9 of the last 10 or 8 of the last 8 or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's always that little part in the back of your mind is like, shit, man, this is our arch rivals. We gotta lose one sooner or later. It can't be this one.
Yeah, you would trade all those 9 in for this one, just this one. All those ones didn't matter, and like for me it was because they lost in the Supercopa, which was that preseason tournament to Madrid, and I think they were up 20 as well. So,
between you and I, that Supercopa doesn't mean a damn thing. I don't know why people count it as titles, but it doesn't mean a damn thing to me.
Yeah, but I wasn't even there, so every time I've been there, it was only beating Madrid. Like we'd only ever beat them. So. And then that one the one we wanted the most, the one that mattered the most, we weren't able to get over the line.
And you're going from the NBA, come over to EuroLeague. I could ask you what the differences are, but we don't have enough time because there's a million different differences. But when you get into that Final Four weekend, there's nothing like it. Because you don't feel the pressure as a player because you're used to just going out and playing, but there's so much pressure to have an incredible season all year long, and it comes down to 2 games. I don't know if it's fair or not, but I love the format and the fact that
I've kind of gone back and forth of whether I like it or not, because I feel like in terms you kind of always want the best team winning, but I feel like the unique factor of it is that you have to, it's just 2 games. You have to win 2 games, and you see this with a lot of EuroLeague games. The EuroLeague games come down to the last 5 minutes of the fourth. It doesn't matter what the score is. Once it kind of hits there, it's like, all right, cool. You could be up 10-12. You're like, all right, this game's going to be a close one at the end. It's just that feeling with every EuroLeague game. So it's kind of tough. Obviously, I feel like if you're the best team, you want a series. You want a 5-game series. You want a 3-game series, anything. But if you're that team that's kind of the underdog that, hey, we can play, 2 good games and win, that's kind of what you want. So, I think it does kind of add a good kind of component of it. But yeah, it is a tough way to be because, all these EuroLeague games, definitely at those, I think I saw a stat on kind of the FS game before us and Olympiacos went on the buzzer.
Right.
We went close. We could have hit a shot. So there's it's tough. I don't know.
Yeah, I think excluding that 3rd and 4th place game, I don't even remember what the final score is. I'm sure you probably don't either. But I think the three important games, the 2 semifinals and the finals, were all decided by by 4 points. So, So it's a wonderful weekend. And every game matters, is what we say at IMG on the TV. And it's so true because
it's true. It is. I hate saying it too because it's the slogan or whatever. But I hate saying it, but it's it is true. You look at every game and even kind of looking at the standings now and how we're doing. That middle section is so close and.
Right.
Winning a game matters and it puts us there and it keeps us there and we lose one and it's just so it's tough.
The crazy thing about this league is if you go on a 2-game losing streak, you can go from 3rd place to 12th place in a matter of a week, And on the other hand, if you win 3 in a row, you can drive yourself up also. But it's like a scoring average though. It's harder to move up. It's harder to move up the scoring average than it is to move down. You have 2 bad games and your scoring average goes down like 3 points. But same thing.
Exactly.
Same thing. When every time you look at that stand, it's like, damn, where are we now? And you look like, all right, we're 7-4. Damn, but the 12th place team, the 12th place team is they're 5-6, only 2 games behind us.
Yeah.
And now you're off to. We'll finish up in Serbia now. You're in Serbia, and I didn't talk about your ex-coach for a reason yet. Your Barcelona coach, because I want to talk about your new coach, who was my coach for 3 years also. You know the whole story about these 2 guys, right? I mean, Saras played for Zelko, and it seems as though Saras took over that Zelko persona and that way to coach, where the 2 of them get that cherry red face and and they probably sweat more than you do when you're playing sometimes. First of all, tell me about Saras. Tell me about what it was like coming over and having him. And he's a point guard too, so one of the hardest things for a point guard player to do is to have a point guard coach.
No, I think it was it was tough in that aspect, like, because have him being a point guard, he kind of wants to, has all these ideas and how he played the game and how he wants to play the game. So I think he tries to implement that and do that as much as possible. And I think for me, I wasn't playing the point at that time, so I was kind of off the ball. So it was a bit easy for me to navigate and just kind of play downhill and do all that stuff. But
that's all you got for me, huh? Come on, coming over and having started yelling at you, dude. Because I always look at him, and I, like I said, I played with Zelko for 3 years, and I see so much of Zelko inside us. I always said it's best to be on the court and screw up with these guys, because when you're on the bench, you're always getting yelled at because of what the guys on the court did.
Oh yeah, that's one of the craziest things. He would come and bring the board up, start yelling at you, and just give you this. Both of them give you an evil eye, and you're just like, Coach, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. I'm sitting right here. And you just sit there and you're like, hey, Coach, put me in. I won't do that. But it's always funny. They kind of just get frustrated. They can't yell at them on the court because it's going, so they just turn and yell at us. No, it's always funny. They both do that. They both do that.
That's so funny, man. Every time I see that happen, I coached JV varsity kids. I do the same thing to them. Somebody screws up on the court, I'm like, I've been telling you guys all season not to do that. It's just you're yelling at people. But what made you? All right, so I want to go finish off with this. NBA, you're in Barcelona with the thoughts of going back to the NBA. You don't go back to the NBA. You have the summer, and you sign with Partizan. 3 questions in one. What made you not go back to Barcelona? What made you not go to the NBA? And what made you go to Partizan?
So I think going into the summer, I want to go to the NBA. That's the dream, to go back there. But looking at kind of, where I was, and, it always goes back to the injuries and kind of, missing all those games. I want to play. That's the bottom line of everything. And looking at kind of weighing up the options, a lot of the NBA stuff that I was doing was you can come in and, wait for a guy to get injured, and, then you'll get your opportunity, or, practice well, and then, you can break the rotation. And I feel like I can help a team, and I want to do that. I want to prove that. And I think that was kind of where I was with the NBA stuff, where, I could have gone over there, and, you see guys that have been in Europe going over there, and, they're not getting those, opportunities. like they do in Europe to play a lot. So I think that was kind of the biggest decision for me, where I wanted to kind of keep this momentum of keep playing, keep showing health. And, I have the most fun when I'm on the court. I don't want to be sitting on the bench. I don't want to be, just being a practice guy. So I think I'm 27. I want to play. So I think that was the biggest decision on that. And then, weighing up going back to Barcelona, it was a tough. I felt like I wasn't able to, fully kind of play how I wanted to play and show the potential that I was, that I could do in Europe. So, and then the Partizan option came up, and I think for me it's just I just want to play. I want to be on the court. I want to have that freedom to. I was able to go back into the point guard role and kind of have the freedom to, run a team and, make decisions like that. So I think that was kind of the biggest reason in choosing Partizan over Barcelona.
Obviously, we come up with the fact that you're from Australia. You spent most of your time in your professional career, anyways, in the NBA. Do you have any idea? Did you have any idea who Partizan was, and what this club was all about, and the history and the nostalgia and everything that has to do with Partizan Belgrade, KK, they may call so many different things, but did you have any clue whatsoever? I mean, because we normally, as Americans, we don't at all. We have no idea.
Yeah. I only had a little bit, and that was only because I'd grown up with a Serbian friend, and he was Partizan. He was a Partizan fan, and I never understood it, and I never, he would always show me. He was like, "Yeah, watch these fans," and he would show me Partizan fans, and then actually one of my other friends who's Serbian too, he got to go on a trip, and they came to Belgrade and actually got to go to a Partizan Red Star derby, and he told me all about it. I never understood it. But I'd always watch videos on it, so I kind of knew from that standpoint. But even just coming here, it's different. Like the fans, I remember we were traveling back, and obviously we just lost to Madrid, and the one thing they said, "Oh, don't worry about that. Just beat Red Star." That's all they care about. Just beat Red Star. So, and obviously last night was, disappointing for us. But yeah, we get them to play them again in EuroLeague in I think a week or so. So, we'll be ready for that game, and it's different, and it's always hard because those games, I've heard so many things about it, and the games can go for 5 hours, can go for 4, can go for 6. You never know. They're removing fans and doing this, and it's just the passion behind it. But it was exciting to be a part of, and we get to play them, at least 3 more times this year, and hopefully we get those 3. I mean, it's always like the what you said about with Madrid and Barcelona. They can win the first one and we can win the rest. As long as we win the ones that matter. So,
what about you played it obviously in Panathinaikos? You played against Olympiacos and their courts. You've been through the European tour, let's say. What's the one game where, probably your first game, I would imagine, the Clasico, but what's that other game where you just kind of looked up and you just kind of because I've done this before, when I first came over, I just looked around what the hell is, and it just motivates you so much to play, or even if you're home or away, it's money. But what was it your first game in Partizan? Was it watching the Panathinaikos, Olympiacos fans?
Yeah, honestly, I think that first EuroLeague game with Partizan, there was
Bologna? Was it Bologna? No.
Yeah.
It was Bologna, right?
Yeah,
your first home game.
Yeah, and I think, just that game, and when they did, they sing a song right before, And that song, like the whole crowd, you look out and it was just covered in like everyone with scarves holding it out. And it was literally goosebumps. It was goosebumps. It was just like
love it.
20,000 people, singing in unison, the passion, like everything. And, it's crazy because a lot of the times, like people have been telling me like, the arena that a Red Star play in, because Partizan played in it last year. They're like, playing in there is so much better than Stark Arena. Like, nah. 20,000 Partizan fans in Stark Arena, I'll take that any day over the smaller gym. I think, it was goosebumps. And even the last game we played against Maccabi, you probably saw a photo where they put up the picture of the dude when they were singing that song. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. I think that's when every time those EuroLeague games, that's the moment where I look around and I go, man, this is unbelievable. It's like a movie. Like it is. You can't explain like, okay, yeah, I'm about to play for these fans that just want us to win, And I love looking out in the crowd and just seeing there's like 3 or 4 of them that they literally don't even watch the game. They're just standing up and they're just chanting. Like they don't watch the game. They don't look. I watch them for like a minute. Like I should be watching the game, but I'm watching them. I'm like looking at them and they don't watch the game. If a shot happens, they don't care. They're just like ready to, like start the chants and make sure everyone's chanting. And it's unbelievable. I can't explain it. I don't know if you've come to a EuroLeague game here, but it's something like unbelievable.
I've been, and as a matter of fact, I'll probably be coming to the one you guys play this year against Real Madrid. So I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to getting back there. But to me, it's always been amazing. Like how could 20,000 people that showed up at a game separately be so in unison and be able to all of a sudden just out of nowhere just start clapping together and singing the same song? It's always amazed me.
Just in tune, like it's like they don't miss a beat at any point. Like they know what songs, and that's the best thing, because obviously they're singing the songs. They've probably been singing these since they were babies,
right?
And they know it. Like, and even the guys on the bench, like the Serbian guys, they're singing the songs too. And it's an amazing thing.
You got guys on your bench from the team singing the songs too. Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't even know the words, and I'm sitting there like trying to sing it, just like, hey, what does that mean? What are they singing about?
I love it. You're having a really good year right now so far. I mean, the team's up and down, but you guys, it's a new team in EuroLeague, a lot of history. You personally having a good year, averaging about 11, 12 points a game. You mentioned before that you made this change because you didn't feel like you were being maybe used enough in Barcelona, or used the way that you wanted to. You feel that way with Zeljko? You feel like he's I look at with Zeljko, I had the best 3 years of my life. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I had the worst 3 years of my life. It was like a marriage, It was the worst 3 years of my life and the best 3 years of my life. Because he got so much more out of me as a player and as a person than I ever expected that I had. When Zeljko showed up here at Real Madrid when I played, I was at the top of my game. I was known as one of the best, 4 players in Europe, if not the best. And he just looked at me. He's like, nah, forget that. He's like, you can be better, And I feel like that's what he does with a lot of players, and it seems like that's kind of what's happening with you a little bit. I kind of see like you feel more confident in your role. He's giving you a little bit more freedom, and even though he's hard to deal with sometimes, man, he's not the easiest guy in the world to deal with.
I think that's the biggest thing about it. I think he's challenging me, and I'm challenging him in a way, but he
loves that too. He loves that a player will challenge him. He likes that because he knows that you're confident, you want to win.
Yeah. So, and I think that's the thing. I have that, that freedom, but he continues to challenge me to, be able to, take over a game, knowing, and I'm still learning kind of how to do that, and when I've got it going. And I think going into that point guard role, he said at the start of the year, like he's like, I'm going to be the hardest on you. I'm going to challenge you the most. Like you need to realize when why we're doing this play or what, when we should do this play, like just little stuff like that. And I think the biggest thing, with him, he challenges you to, he'll give you the freedom to play, but he wants you to play smart. And I think that's the biggest thing about him. It's just like, yeah, you can go out there and, do whatever you want, but be smart, play the right way. And I think that's the best thing that I've liked about him so far. And then just, challenging me to, be out there and be the leader and kind of understand the game and how it's going, and, just run it from that standpoint. And I think going and talking about that, obviously you've been around it, and he's hard on young players.
Right.
But, with young players, they don't really think a lot, or they might do some silly things, and, they kind of get, down on themselves. And I always try and say to them, like, hey, he's yelling at you because he knows you can be better. Right. And you can be better too. And you can, if you think or you do this. And I think that's what I like about playing with him. Yeah, he's going to yell at you, but he's yelling at you, because he knows what you just did wasn't you, or you could be better, or you could have made someone else better. So I think that's important.
I've always said that I play with a lot of hard-ass coaches because they're a lot harder back in my day than they are nowadays. Even in Selko, I was talking to the GM. I was talking to Zoran Savic, who was my teammate here in Madrid. He's like, man, Zelko's just as motivated as ever. I'm like, yeah. I said, but y'all only practice once a day. I'm like, we used to practice 3 times a day sometimes with Zelko. And he'd be yelling at you all day long. But I think the biggest thing with Zelko, what I've always said was, I played with so many hard-ass coaches before that just boom, boom, boom. They just want to make you better, but they weren't good people, and they weren't fair.
Yeah.
And Zelko, I think, what I liked the most about him was, as soon as you got outside those 4 lines, basketball was over for him. He didn't want to talk about it anymore. He was a friend. He was a confidant. He was whoever you wanted him to be, and I think that's a difference, because when you have someone yelling at you that you don't respect, you're not listening as much as you are when you have someone yelling at you that knows going to treat you like a person outside the court. And that's why I think Zelko wins over a lot of players.
Yeah, and 100%, I agree with that fully. You feel like, you have that coach that, is scary, and you don't want to approach him. But I feel like, I feel like I can approach him, I can, he's not going to be stuck in his ways of do it this way. So, that's important in a coach, and he definitely understands that. Yeah.
Give me, before we get to your favorite part of this interview, give me some of your personal stuff. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do? Like when you were hurt and you wanted to not go to practice for a week or whatever. What would you rather have been doing? What do you like to do outside? Music, golf. A lot of players like golf.
No, I'm a video game guy.
Oh man, I read that, but you're still doing video games.
Not as much now. I'm actually trying to find something that, like, a hobby that I really like. But yeah, no, it's just TV shows, anything to relax and kick the feet up. Because I mean, yeah, those sessions over here in Europe aren't the easiest. So
you married, got kids?
No, just girlfriend at the moment. So
girlfriend, she from Australia. Where's she from? The States?
She's from the States. Yeah.
From the States. Okay, so she's been traveling around with you. How's that for her? Like enjoying like different lifestyles and being all over the place.
Yeah, no, she's enjoying it. Yeah, obviously it's an adjustment. She's from Utah, so coming out and seeing the world, it's been good. No, but she's enjoying it. Belgrade's beautiful. I've been around the waterfront and everything, and it's getting a bit chilly here now, and the fog is starting to set in. But no, I've been enjoying it so far.
And what's the best thing that you like about that city? Because I love everything about it. Just the ambiance, the like walking around, like you said, the waterfront where all the restaurants and bars are. Have you found your favorite place yet? I go to this place called The Train, where the food just keeps on. I don't know if it's called The Train. I think it's called something else.
Oh,
it's where
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen that. I've actually wanted to go to that before, but I haven't. But no, I think the best thing, I mean, it's the little chivapi sausages. I mean, yeah, those things, I love them. I had them before when I was in Australia, and but yeah, there's something different about the taste when they're over here. So,
right. The last question: Are you still looking back to the NBA, or are you like trying to like, or is it every day in Europe is it becoming more and more difficult to look back?
I mean, I think every time it's going to be, off season, weighing up the options. I think because I've been over in Europe, I know what Europe's about. I don't have a problem of playing over here and, and staying over here. But if a good opportunity arises in the NBA where I'm able to play and have a role, I think that's definitely going to be something that I want to do. But yeah, like I love Europe. I love the lifestyle of it, and I think the best thing for me is just I haven't been able to get out and see the world much, and we had a break, and I was able to go to Paris for the weekend, and I was able to walk around in Greece the week before. So I think it's cool just to see the world in that aspect. Being from Australia where it's so far from everything, and not being able to do that and get on a plane ride for an hour or two and be in Budapest or Paris or Germany, I think it's an amazing thing.
That's why I came back, man. It's just there's just so much to do. It's so close. I love it over here. Are you ready, my man? It's EuroLeague test time, brother.
Yes, here we go. I'm just gonna warn you. I didn't know anything about the EuroLeague growing up. So if there's any past questions or even this year,
we already established from the beginning of this interview that you didn't know anything about EuroLeague or anything growing up, and neither did I. But we tried to format the questions where you might have an idea of what's going on. At least this is gonna make you think a little bit. The questions go from 1 to 5. All right, each one is worth 10 more points. 10 for the first one, 20 for the second one. 30, 40, and 50. Obviously, they get tougher as we go. Let's see, last season's top scorers, all on 100 points, were Nicola Melli, Gershon Yabusele, and Kevin Punter. All right? Your own teammate.
Wait, so what was the question?
No, there wasn't a question. I'm just telling you the last year's top scorers got 100 points. And those three players were Nicola Melli, Gershon Yabusele, and Kevin Punter.
Okay.
So you got to at least beat Kevin, right?
Yeah. I'll go tell him in practice tonight too.
There you go.
I have no hope there. I have no hope. We'll see.
Come on, man. Be confident. Here's your first one. It's worth 10 points. Who were the last Final Four participants?
Last year? Real Madrid, Barcelona, FS, and Olympiacos.
Look at that. You got 10 points already.
I probably wouldn't have known that if I wasn't
there. You're on your way. All right, number 2. Who's the point index rating, PIR, average leader as of today in the Turkish Airlines EuroLeague?
From Olympiacos, how do you say his last name?
I'm giving it to you. Go ahead, but say it.
Yeah. I don't know how to.
Hey, this is what I go through every day on the commentating the games, man. Especially with you Serbian teams with Vučković and Smiling.
Yeah.
But go ahead, give it a shot.
And it's funny. I knew that question was going to come up, and I was like, I'm going to mess up his last name too.
What's his first name?
Isn't it Sasha?
There you go, Vizenkov.
There you go. I was going to say yeah.
That's all right. You got it.
Yeah.
Look, you got 30 points already. Here you go.
Go.
This one's for 30 more points, or 60 if you get it. This ought to be an easy one. Which is the Australian-born player with the most games played in the EuroLeague since the year 2000?
Okay, I think this is going to... See... I might have to go with Dave Anderson. And
Bingo.
wait.
Oh!
I got it? Okay, yeah. I was like, because I was thinking like, I know in my head I want to say Joe Ingles, but like I don't think like he wasn't over here like Dave Anderson was.
Yeah, he played for Ceska, Barca, Fenerbahce, Virtus, Matopesi, 225 total games. I should have let you go there. You might have messed up if I'd have let you go a little bit.
Nah.
All right.
I was gonna go with Dave Anderson.
All right, 60 points. This is the tie. The three guys from last year. If you make this year, a most points scored in the first quarter record was achieved in which game?
First quarter.
Most points scored in the first quarter of a EuroLeague game was achieved this year.
See, I don't know, but I'm just gonna say because we scored 40 against Real Madrid, so I'm just gonna say it was us versus Real Madrid, but I don't think that's right. I think there was more.
You gotta give me an answer.
Yeah, I'm gonna say. Wait, is it a single player or a team?
No,
team score.
The two teams.
Team.
Yeah.
Two teams. I'm gonna say us versus Real Madrid last week.
Look at you, man. You're 4 for 4, man. That's 100 points right off the bat.
I knew because I saw EuroLeague posted saying that it was like a 40-point quarter, and yeah, so I assumed that was pretty high.
40 to 32. Y'all were making my job easy, man. Commentating that game. That was fun. All right, man. You might set the record here at 150 points. Question number 5 worth 50 points. No one's ever gotten all 5 of them. Which was the exact score of your last season's playoff game versus Bayern?
The exact score?
Exact score. This isn't like,
man.
Hey, this isn't like buying a ticket on an airlines where you can like put in like plus 3 days, minus 3 days, get a better price. I need the exact score for that 50 points.
Do I get a hint at least of?
Yeah, I'll give you a hint.
The margin?
I'll give you a hint. FC Barcelona won the game.
I want the margin. I want to know how much you won by.
Dude, come on, man. You already got 100 points. You're tied up with the leaders from last year, and you want me to give you hints on top of it?
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say something like, I can't remember how much we won by. If I knew how much we won by, I could give you. So I'm gonna go low scoring game, maybe 67-72.
No, wrong, man. Damn, now if I tell you how much, I'm not going to give you the 50 points. Obviously, I got to take those 50 points from you. But if I told you the margin, you gonna remember?
What was the margin?
You won by 9.
No, that wouldn't help me at all. What was it?
81-72.
Okay. I knew it was something.
You had the 72, right?
Okay, yeah. I knew it was 72. I knew it was around there, but I didn't know whether it was down or up. So, okay.
Yeah, but we don't give half points, so don't.
I get 25 for that?
No. You don't get 25. You don't get 25. I'll have 3 players. I'll have Kevin call me up and yelling at me. Hey, Dante, man.
I got to go back and look at their questions and see what they had. So
I think his were tough. I'll have to go back and look. That's a good idea. We'd have to go back and look at those. Dante, man, I've taken up an hour and a half of your time, man, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, your busy day to be here with us here on the crossover. And man,
no worries.
Everything I read about you, everything I've heard about you, it's all true. You're just a good, humble kid. That I mean, you've proved it here in this interview, man. The way you look at things, the way you treat things, the way you treat other people, and I think it's an amazing thing for you. It's a testament of what your parents have done to you, because it's not easy to be as humble as you are and with everything that's going on. So congratulations to you. Good luck this season, and I'll see you around, man.
Appreciate
Looking forward
that.
to it.
Thank you. Hope to see you in Belgrade.
You taking me out to dinner, right?
Oh, of course.
All right.
We'll go to the train.
We'll go to the train. There you go. There you go. Thanks, my man. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.